Alright, I want to show you a couple of features of our newer harness versus our older harness. Let's look at this Sahara. Now, we left the engine cover off so you can see our new harness. Our new harnesses are made out of fire sleeve and friction tape. We don't use split loom. This customer chose to go with dual batteries. We built that tray for him. Now, normally I like to keep the shield that goes between the TIPM and the engine intact, and the battery and the engine intact. Unlike a Hemi, we do not have to modify the firewall. We do not have to modify the steering shaft. We don't have to relocate the battery or remove the heat shield. It's very critical to keep this TIPM cool. And as you can see with the LS, the exhaust manifold is not very close to the TIPM, and we do have the shield in this one. With a Hemi, you remove that shield and it exposes the bottom of this TIPM, which is actually a computer. It's the gateway module to a lot of heat. We would have been able to maintain the original battery tray on this with a shield, but the customer had removed it earlier, so I like to keep those in place. This Sahara does have an isolator that is controlled from inside. Our new harness does place the ECM over here. This is the E38 GM computer, and it now allows us to run dual batteries or whatever you want over there, as well as an S-pod over here. It's mounted low enough so you can still mount your S-pod on top of it. This E38 will go into a standalone mode if the TIPM or the NGC4 fails. The NGC4s don't fail too often, but the TIPMs fail quite often. These relays here are your fuel pump and your powertrain relay, so the GM will limp into a standalone mode and continue to run even if there's a Chrysler CAN bus failure. This is our simple fuse block, which we've reduced in size quite a bit, lowered the inertia, especially if you're off-road, of having a power distribution center. This customer did choose to go with our aluminum radiator. It is 2 1-inch tube core, so that means it's 2 inches thick. We use all the factory hardware to mount it. We use a B&M cooler, which I really like. It's strong, rocks can hit it, and it's not going to damage the fins. This customer had the old PSC Durrell power steering transmission coolers mounted in front of the radiator, and it was just blocking too much air. He couldn't get this 3.8 up to Mount Charleston without it overheating and going into the transmission limp mode. Let's walk over and take a look at the 6.2. Now this one's been on the road for well over 20,000 miles, and you can see the difference. This is a very early setup with our ECM and power distribution center. Actually, this was a prototype, but the harness was our production harness. You can see that it went around the back of the engine instead of the front. The ECM was mounted on the passenger side instead of the driver's side, and by moving it over here, it really cleaned things up and allows more options for your battery. Here is the battery tray we talked about that shields the electronics from the heat of the engine, that I like to keep intact. Oh, well, our Sahara is running. I hope to drive this here well, actually today, and get a video for you in the next couple of days. So I hope that you can see some of the differences between our newer generation harness and our older generation harness.